Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Hello, geekologists. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the priest to the geeks. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Schaeffer, joined here with Evan Garcia. Evan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kevin?
Man, I'm great. I am really excited for this one. This is another What's News episode, and we have so much to cover tonight. A lot happening in the geek sphere. We can't even cover everything really right now, but we've got some great topics to hit on. So I'm very excited for this. But Evan, before we get started with our main topics, what else have you been geeking out on lately? Yes, perfect.
A few things. We've been doing, I've been watching more now, but I wrote it down. I have a list, ka-chow.
Oh,
in the theme park world, Epic Universe open, so that's been a big part of a lot of my content right now.
Yeah.
Seeing that cool stuff. The Righteous Gemstones, but that show's been great. Yeah. It's been firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. The plot, the dialogue, it's been great. I wanted to put Andor here, but I fell asleep last night, so I couldn't finish the episodes. And that a Fantastic Four trailer. I've been watching that a few times, so
it looks like they finally got it right. I mean, July. Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do with Superman and Fantastic Four back to back? Just the utter joy that those will bring. I cannot wait. And yeah, I will say, just for viewers and listeners out there, we're not going to go in depth on Andor tonight because I'm actually doing a rewatch of season 1 first. So I've not watched the premiere yet. We are going to talk Star Wars stuff tonight, but we will definitely be delving on Systematic Geekology into Andor in depth. But just as a teaser, we're not going to cover the premiere tonight. So if you haven't watched it, you're in good health because, yeah, I have not gotten to it yet. Because that is one show. The first season is so phenomenal that I didn't want to just do a recap. I really wanted to do a full rewatch and really absorb it before I went into season 2. And I'm glad I'm doing that. So I'm about halfway through a rewatch of season 1. But yeah, awesome. Well, those are great items. All I will add to it, because aside from the stuff we're talking about tonight, one show I am thoroughly enjoying is the Studio on Apple TV. Evan, have you heard about this one?
Yeah.
The new Seth Rogen and Edwin Goldberg series that they also co-created with several other writers, and they direct every episode, and Seth Rogen stars in it. But it's a great show where Seth Rogen plays this stressed out movie executive who becomes the head of a fictional studio called Continental Studios. And it's a fascinating concept because he's playing the guy who genuinely loves filmmakers and loves movies, and he wants to be the cool executive that supports them, but he's caught in a system that forces him to only prioritize making money for the studio. And so he's caught in this endless dynamic between his own desires and wanting to have artistic integrity, and then ultimately being a corporate Mongol. So it's a really fascinating, and it's so funny. It's such a show that is made for movie buffs. They have Martin Scorsese playing himself in the pilot episode, and they have a bunch of other actors and filmmakers playing themselves in the rest of the season. So like Anthony Mackie's in one. Zac Efron showed her. It's a brilliant show. Catherine Hahn is great in it. Catherine O'Hara. So it's great show all around. So I've really been enjoying that. And then there's a lot more, but a lot of is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So yeah, very cool.
Right on.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the main topics, just want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for tuning in tonight. If you are a Patreon subscriber, a huge shout out to you. And if you're here, whether you're first time, welcome. And if you are returning, still welcome so much. And thank you so much for supporting the show. Please, like, share, subscribe, rate and review. It helps out a ton. Wherever you get your podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube right now, or if you're listening to this at a later time, we super appreciate the support. So now, Evan, we have a lot to get into for the tonight. So So
let's get into it.
Do it. So first off, what do we have?
We have the film Sinners, which is a surprise film that, it was a surprise for me because I try to stay spoiler free from it, and I pretty much did, and I really loved it. It's a probably perfect film for what it was, man. I really liked it.
This is an absolutely phenomenal movie. I remember when I first saw the trailer, I was immediately hyped. Because it's Ryan Coogler, it's a horror movie, and it's also Ryan Coogler's first original property that's not an IP, or even Fruitvale Station, which was his indie debut, was still based on a true story. Excellent movie,
right.
and he's made great movies with Creed and both Black Panthers. But this was his first, just straight from the imagination. So I've actually seen this movie twice. To tell you how much I love it. And yes, I love it. If you didn't already love Michael B. Jordan, you get double the dose of Michael B. Jordan in this movie, which is phenomenal. Let's get into this. So first, you want to give just kind of an overview of what this movie is about, and then we can get into a little more about the themes and
do we want to spoil it?
Let's avoid spoilers because I do want to, I want more people. I know it did well on opening weekend, but I really want more people to see this. So I think we can talk about it in more general terms. So if you want to just give the initial premise, and then we can still talk about some, favorite elements of it.
There we go. Yeah, for sure. So this is, like you said, this is Ryan Coogler's film. It's a original, and it focuses on twin brothers played by Michael B. Jordan, and they are gangsters, and this takes place in the 1930s during the Depression and Prohibition, and they are coming back to their small town because they spent some time in Chicago, and they're coming back to their small town to start a jive club, and they're trying to bring around trying to build up the club. They run into their old friends and family, and they really develop relationships with these people again. They bring up some old flames and stuff, and then they start the jive club, and things go bad, and they got to overcome it. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of fighting, and the ending has 3 post-credit sequences. So don't forget to see those.
I love that.
That was good.
This was like Ryan Coogler's non-Marvel movie, but he did a little Marvel thing there by having all the post credits there. I love, and it's not one to skip. You definitely stay in the theater because actually when I saw it the second time, I saw some people leaving. I was like, no, stay. It's not done yet. Once the credits start rolling. So I really love this movie. Like I said, I already saw it twice. I saw it first at the Alamo Drafthouse, and then again at the AMC Theater, because for that one, I wanted to experience it with a Dolby sound system. And that made it so much more immersive. It was because this is a movie that demands to not only be seen on the big screen, but on the biggest screen possible, and with a great sound system to make it all the more visceral and all the more immersive. But there's so many things I love about this movie. I think, inevitably, I mean, not this is a bad thing, but like a big source of inspiration and a big comparison to this movie is From Dusk Till Dawn, which was directed by Robert Rodriguez, written and starring Quentin Tarantino. And you definitely see parallels there in terms of, okay, that's also a movie that starts out as a crime saga and then shifts into a horror movie. The difference, though, is that with that one, it is an abrupt transition. Like you go immediately from a crime to all of a sudden you're in a vampire movie, and there's like no gradual transition. Mm-hmm. This one is certainly a genre mashup, but the build up to the vampire horror elements is there really from the beginning. So I mean, right from the opening, right, very natural, it's a very organic progression. Because even in the opening scene, there's a horror tease there, like there's a lot of horror movies, and then we shift to the brothers and also their cousin, who is this aspiring musician, but he's also a preacher's son, and his dad really doesn't want him to go pursue this secular lifestyle and become a musician. He wants him to follow in his footsteps, and so but he goes off with his former gangster cousins, and a lot of the first hour is exploring these relationships and building that up, and setting really the tone for what's going to transpire in the second half of the movie. And yeah, it does it so well. There's just but I mean, there's not just horror and crime elements. There is also a lot of romance that's really well developed. There is really a musical element too. Like, I mean, I was going to say,
both the music, like the soundtrack, and the music within the plot. Like, the good guys have their music, and the bad guys clearly have their music too. And I hated when the bad guys, quote unquote, were doing their music. I was like, oh my God, this music is so good. This shouldn't be that good. I was like, I like this track, but yes.
Man,
and the payoff is so good with all those characters when they finally bring in the genre part of it. All that setup and all the character development pays off so well. So well.
It's brilliant. I mean, because and it's really hard to not just do a genre mashup, but to have an ensemble of this size and to have everything connect so seamlessly and organically. Like, that is just because I think a lot of people have been talking about this as, this is a 90 million original non-IP blockbuster movie that was, even with a respected director, it's still a gamble for studios, and I'm really glad they took the risk on it. I think if someone else had come with a script like this, or a pitch even, and was like, yeah, I want to do all this, I think studios might have been like, yeah, no, we're not.
Because it does till dawn.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And whereas Ryan Coogler is such a brilliant storyteller, and he knows how to connect all these elements and deliver a satisfying beginning, middle, and end, and just keep viewers so entranced throughout. And
he's the director as well, so he's pulling out of these actors and actresses these performances that I've never seen before. There's the girl that plays the TVA agent. I didn't realize who she was till halfway through the film. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's her. That's amazing.
It is a brilliant cast. Hallie Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo.
He's not no little kid anymore.
No, she's she's brilliant. I wanted to look up some of the other actors. Because Wunmi Masako, I hope I'm not butchering the name, but she's also she was in Loki, she was in Lovecraft Country, and then I also knew her from We Own This City, which is a great HBO series with her and John Bernthal, a miniseries about the Boston police force. It's an excellent job. So she is phenomenal. And that was the thing. There was such a great play. And then Miles Canton, who this was his debut acting role, but he plays the cousin. The singer, and he's an R&B singer, so that's I think why they looked for that, because they needed someone who could absolutely deliver an amazing.
I had to look him up. Yeah,
but it's like obviously he can sing and perform, but for this to be his first movie, he killed it as an actor. Like, I mean, that was the thing. There was just not a bad performance at all. I mean, not only not bad, there were a few. It was like great performances all around. I mean, it was brilliant. I just love this movie so much. I mean, the cinematography, the execution, and another thing too about it being an original movie, and one of the things that is scaring the mess out of studios right now is that Ryan Coogler will actually retain full ownership of this movie in 25 years. He secured a deal with Warner Brothers to make that happen, because he said he's not going to do this on every movie, but he did it specifically for this one because it's about Black ownership. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has a similar thing too. Like Tarantino will own that movie in a few decades. So, but that also scares the mess out of studios, because, and that was a big gamble too. I have respect for Warner Brothers for doing that, because it gives a lot of creative control over filmmakers, but it sets a precedent, which like I'm all for, because I'm just like, I want more filmmakers to have power, but it would cause a major shift in how movies are made if that becomes something going forward. So we'll see what happens. But I mean,
I love that they gave him that power, because he deserves it 100%.
100%. I mean, it's just like, this is just so much his DNA, his craft, and the music all around. Ludwig Göransson's score is phenomenal. And yeah, absolutely see it on the biggest screen possible. Yeah, and also, I mean, we can I think we can do a very larger discussion on it at a later time, because there are a lot of religious themes to take apart here too. Like I mentioned that
there were some lines that were like, oof, that's a jab.
Yeah. Like, and it was, I mean, I didn't view it as like an anti-Christianity film, or, even with the title. Like, I mean, I actually saw it with one of No, and I saw it with one of my pastors, actually, like, who's not even a like horror fan, but he was like, he's a big Ryan Coogler fan, and he wanted to see it. And I mean, he enjoyed it. Cool. But like, there is that element I mentioned of Sammy, who Miles Kenton plays, is a preacher's son, and his dad thinks that because he goes off to this juke joint and plays music, he brought about these demons. And when in reality, there's a lot more going on than to that. But the religious elements are very prevalent in this movie, and there's a lot to dissect there. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, you need to stay for the credits. Yes. Even the last one, because I was thinking, I'm like, but what about this and that? And then that final one, at least for me, answered my question. I'm like, that's okay. Perfect.
Man, and also, one of the things that came out of this, I saw, actually my friend Danny Quick, who was on an episode of our show earlier this year, he's a comic book writer. He had posted something along the lines of like, why is it so, or I think he said this movie could work as a Blade prequel. And I was like, coming out of this movie, I was like, why is it so hard for Marvel to make a Blade movie right now? Because look at this. It's just you got a perfect vampire movie right here. And a great cast, great director. Wow. So if Coogler if they ever get Blade going again, and Coogler has time, which, I mean, granted, I know he's moving straight from this to an X-Files reboot. So, I mean, he's going to be busy. But if he gets time between, or if Black Panther 3 comes later or something, man, I would love him to do Blade.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you said Blade Runner. I was like, wait a minute, Blade Runner.
That would be fascinating. Blade Runner and vampires. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do electric vampires dream.
Yes.
Whatever that line is.
I think that's a pitch. I think if we brought to
robot vampires.
Yeah. See, now I love it. I think if we brought that to a studio, they might throw us out the building, but who knows? I don't know. I like that pitch. I like that pitch a lot. Let's write it. So yeah. So all right. Sinner's a great movie. Definitely seen in theaters. I think we will definitely do a future episode dissecting it in further detail. But absolutely go see it. I cannot recommend it enough. Don't take the kids, but for adults, fantastic movie theater experience. Awesome.
All right, what we got next here? All right, yeah, let's get into the finale of Daredevil.
Let's do it. So, for our viewers and listeners out there, we have talked about Daredevil Born Again pretty extensively on other What's News episodes, and we may even do a full episode dedicated to just Daredevil. I would be more than happy to. But we're going to focus on the finale for this one. So if you've not watched it, do skip this part or come back to it once you go watch it, because we're gonna spoil a little bit here. But Evan, what were your overall thoughts of the finale and just the season in general?
Overall thoughts of the finale, I loved it. 10 out of 10. The thoughts of the season in general, I wish there was a little bit. I wish there were 2 more episodes. 1 or 2 more, just to finish out what they set up in this last part, because it's kind of a cliffhanger, but it's not really. But overall, I really love the series. It was great. The episodes that the 2 brothers wrote and directed, like what I thought. I did like them a lot, and they were great. It was cool to see some characters come back, and it was pretty satisfying.
I would agree with that a lot. I love the finale, and it makes me really excited for season 2. I think with the show overall, I mean, I think I mentioned on the last episode, it's like Daredevil is my favorite Marvel character, so it's not that hard to please me. Which if I see Charlie Cox's Daredevil on screen, I'm in heaven. So it's it doesn't say much, but I will say, I mean, I can still look at the show objectively. I will say, based on the history of the series, we know that it was a culmination of 2 different creative visions, because originally it was going to be a full reboot where while they were always bringing Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio back, originally Karen and Foggy were not there, and originally the Netflix series was going to be an old canon, and this was going to be new. And so and then when the writer's strikes happened and they had some time to rethink everything, they decided, no, let's do a rehaul and get in a new writer. They brought in Dario Scartapane from Punisher to rewrite, and Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson as directors and executive producers, and they did a complete overhaul. And so that's how the premiere episode and then the last 2 were completely original from this new iteration of it. So there is definitely, even if you didn't know all that, I think you can, just as a viewer, notice some of the glaring issues in the pacing and some of the storytelling in terms of how this kind of feels like a mishmash of things. I thought even with those circumstances, it was a success overall. Like, they were able to balance the lawyer procedural aspects with the gritty continuation of Daredevil story from the Netflix series and make it as seamless as possible. Again, I do think there were still bumps along the road, but it was overall satisfying. I think, if they were to add a couple episodes, I do think like the Muse storyline was too rushed. I would have liked to see that expanded on. So, I mean, there were things like that. They could have, mainly a lot of the new supporting characters that were introduced, like Cherry. I love the actor. I thought it was a great role, but it also was like, I didn't think we got enough of like, okay, what is his relation? I mean, we get the basic, but like, how did this relationship happen? It felt like it would have made more sense to have like Mahoney from the original series be that character, or something. And like, so there was still those like bumps in the road. But as far as an overall enjoyment experience, I thoroughly enjoyed myself week to week, and I absolutely loved the finale. And why I'm really, even despite the bumps on the road in this season, and some of the critiques that many people have pointed out, I think I am very excited for season 2, because I think like now we're past all that kind of baggage of the history, and now it has a very good setup for what season 2 can be. Because now we have, okay, Mayor Fisk, Kingpin, is stronger than ever. He has the city at his, under his control, and Matt is forced to bring together an army and fight to reclaim New York and Hell's Kitchen from Fisk's reign of terror. So that alone, I think, is a great setup. And now we don't have to go forward with wrestling over like, oh, should I continue being Daredevil or not? We're past that. Yes, Matt, you're Daredevil. Yeah, despite what happened, Foggy's death, like no, this is your destiny and you got to fight and you got to protect the city. So we don't have to deal with any of that internal struggle as much anymore. We've got a good storyline to move forward. And I would just say, I mean, the Daredevil Punisher stuff in the season finale was absolutely stellar. I love John Bernthal. He got some of his best moments in that scene. And it was just, and like you said too, the directing from Moorhead and Benson just added a whole nother layer to it and made the last 2 episodes so enticing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next season. And from what I heard, I didn't confirm this, but I heard it's going to be just in 1 year now. They are still filming it now, and they're
yes.
Yeah.
They have announced a release date. Right now, the plan is March of 2026.
Wow.
So only a year away, which is very exciting. Because that was the thing. Because originally it was announced as like an 18-episode series way back when. And then they just, I think, decided to split it up into 2 seasons. So it was still going to be filming back to back. So they weren't really taking a break there. They're still in production right now. And I would say my one hope for, and I'm not saying this just because this is a Christian nerd podcast, but one of the things that they didn't focus on as much, they mentioned, but not nearly as much in the original series, is Matt's Catholic faith and how that influences his character. That was missing from this season, and I hope that they do come back to that. Because, again, this isn't just because it's like, from my viewpoint, that is a very quintessential element of Matt Murdock and Daredevil's character that makes the movie. So I really want to see them bring back, like, his mother and maybe, like, flashbacks with the priest and stuff like that. And, like, just a more look at, like, how that is a very, because they had that one scene between him and Heather in this season where she talks and she just says like, I knew you were a Catholic, but I thought you were more like, it was just kind of a like cultural thing.
And there was that one part that he was emotional just looking at the church. Like for some reason he couldn't go in or something. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So I do want them to zero in on that more in a natural way, but like that's just an element that is all in the, it for him, it is a internal spiritual calling for like why he becomes Daredevil. It's not just because
too much. It could have been too much if you had the whole Catholic, the guilt and that whole tension there on top of putting on the suit. I could have seen that get kind of redundant. So
that's fair. That's fair.
So maybe I was missing it too because it was very much a part of what Daredevil is, and the previous series didn't shy away from it at all. So
exactly.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens, but overall, I don't know. I'm giving a rating to like for the finale. That's like a 9.95. But for the season as a whole, I'd probably get it a solid 8. I mean, there was never a week where I didn't enjoy myself. I do have qualms with some of the writing, but I think they were still able to overcome a lot of the circumstances they had. And again, it makes me so excited for season 2. So I am, my man is back, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. I am so happy for that and cannot wait for season 2.
All right.
Here at Systematic Geekology, we believe in a few things. We believe that there is freedom in Christ to like what you like. We believe that Christian nationalism is a heresy. And probably most important that I'm going to talk about today, at least, is that we believe the best place to spend your extra cash is on the Systematic Geekology merch store. That's right. This is a shameless shill for our own products. We go through Creator Spring, and we have a few great products on there. Me personally, I'm a big like black shirt kind of guy, muted colors. But there's nothing better to like throw a little something extra on there with like a black baseball cap, the dad hat with the Systematic Geekology logo on it. That's a classic. I just really think if you got a couple, $30 extra, that's for us.
Star Wars Celebration that took place over Easter, which I love it because they've been doing it for a few celebrations now. If you guys don't know, Star Celebration is the Star Wars convention that takes place roughly every couple years. And this year was in Japan, and there was a lot of fun announcements. I couldn't watch it live because it started at 10 and it went to like 4 in the morning, something like that. So I watched as much as I could, and then I watched some recaps and stuff. But there was some big stuff that was announced. There was some big stuff that wasn't announced, and that kind of spoke almost as loudly as the stuff that was announced too. So, what was your take on the celebration this year, Kevin?
Man, I always look forward to too. Like, I mean, Evan, have you ever gotten to go in person?
Twice. Yeah, twice.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Where was it?
Sorry,
three
times. Like 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Were they all in Orlando? Because I know
yes.
it goes. Yeah. Nice. Yep. That's the one. I mean, I would love to at some point. So I've never been able to do it in person. I have my Hayden Christensen though, so that's perfect. My cred there. Yeah. So I mean, that was all that I got to meet him at AwesomeCon last year. But as far as celebration news-wise, I think my biggest excitement, and I know you are too, based on your name there. I know we talked about this a little bit last time when there was speculation that Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling were going to make a Star Wars movie, even though it wasn't like officially confirmed. But now it is, and not only that, but they said they are going into shooting in the fall. So this one is actually happening because when I think we talked about it a little last time, but like I'm at the point where I will believe a Star Wars movie is happening when I'm sitting in the theater because in that they did a lot of shows, but like in the last particularly 6 years, like since Rise of Skywalker and like since before that, and even before that, they've announced so many movies that either never came to fruition or are still in some level of development hell. Yeah. And so I'm just like a little hesitant. But this one, they came out, did the panel, and were like, no, we're shooting this fall. That means they already have a script, they have a crew, they have a cast. And what I like about this and what I think should be the future of Star Wars movies in particular, and shows as well, but I think shows, particularly in the animated world, you can do a little more if you want to tie in stuff and all that. But I think with movies, standalone chapters like this are the way to go. So this movie, all we know about it, it's called Starfighter. It takes place a few years after the sequel trilogy, and it's going to be very standalone. And really, I was talking about it with a friend the other day. It sounds to me like there are remnants of what was going to be the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie, which I think, she left there. But which makes sense as far as why they already had a script, or even if like it was changed, they were able to just rewrite that. And Sean Levy, coming off the success of Deadpool and Wolverine and Stranger Things, I mean, he knows how to get stuff done and is a very passionate Star Wars fan. So, I think that is a perfect opportunity to just make something to make something that is self-contained. And I was also, this is all pure speculation. Obviously, we don't know really anything about the plot of the movie. But how cool would it be if it turns out to be Ryan Gosling's character? It finds out he's force sensitive, maybe midway through the movie or after the first act. So like he's introduced as kind of a Han Solo, just Starfighter character, but then might end up being force sensitive. That would be really fun, because I would love to see kind of like not even a full Jedi, but a force sensitive character, and what that looks like in the post sequel trilogy era, and how they explore that dynamic. So that's pure speculation and sort of what I want. But the point is, what I love about it being a standalone movie is if it's great, that's awesome. And even if it's not that good, okay, it doesn't really have any major ramifications on, a Skywalker saga or anything. So I want Star Wars to move away from trying to be MCU and to just recognize that we have a galaxy of stories to play with. We do not have to tie everything back to Skywalker saga or to everything. We can tell a story. I mean, look at it. Look at Andor. Look at and Rogue One, and so many arcs from the animated shows where
they've been doing it
introduce characters
in the video games and the books since the 70s and 80s. So
absolutely.
So I think there's a space for these standalone films, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be weird to see Ryan Gosling, because he's Ryan Gosling,
He's Ryan Gosling, but and especially because you think about when the sequel trilogy started, and when the prequels, and when the original trilogy, all of those started with they had a movie, a recognized actor, a movie star in there, but the main characters were all new. They were all introduced. So we didn't know Daisy Ridley and John Boyega before 2015. We didn't. John Boyega he is in a great movie called Attack the Block, but again, that's a really small indie. But they were not movie stars when they were introduced to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's a difference when you have a huge movie star come in and be the face of a new Star Wars movie. So I'm really excited. But so that was my big thing. As far as some of the other news, very excited for a Darth Maul animated series.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome.
Shadow Lord, that's a great name.
Oh, man, I'm so excited for that. And then of course the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That's coming out in a year now, so that is another one that's definitely happening. I'll wait till I want to see a trailer of that to see exactly what the narrative is, just because I love the first couple seasons of Mandalorian. I wasn't that stoked about season 3. Of course I'm so excited for the movie, but I just the thing about season 3 is the way it ended was I'm this could really be a nice swan song for Grogu and Mando. And I'm where do you go from there? I'm sure Favreau has, a good idea in mind. And I think getting to play with the movie budget versus TV will give him a lot of freedom there, hopefully. So still excited for it, but I'm eager to see a trailer.
There's some footage that they played there, and there's some bootleg footage. If you go watch it, it gave me vibes of season 2 vibes. So.
Okay, that's cool.
So
nice.
I was looking forward to that, and the Star Wars Visions season 3. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I like that. Like what you were saying before about the anthologyness of Star Wars. That could be a thing. They did it very well in those short stories, which are animated versions of some Star Wars originals. And some great stories in there. Yep,
absolutely. The animation is fantastic, and the storytelling. And then of course Ahsoka season 2. That was nice to hear. Because I wasn't sure when that was going to come out. That is this fall. So I'm very excited for that. We did a full episode on Ahsoka season 1 after that came out. And she's one of my favorite characters. I've got I can't turn around right now, but I've got Ahsoka and Mando figures on my desk over here. So very excited for that. I'm really curious to see where the story will take place. How Ahsoka and Sabine will get off that planet. What it means for Thrawn to be back to return in the galaxy and launch his vengeance campaign. So I'm very excited for that. And then did you want to say anything about Zero Company as well?
It looked like a really cool extension of the Clone Wars. It's basically it's a video game that is kind of like the special ops of the Clone Wars, like what was going on underneath all the campaigns with the Jedi and stuff, and that looks like it's going to be great. It's probably not so much very story based, but it's going to have some. It's going to be a really good play.
Hopefully, it can bring it back to the Battlefront 2 days. That was the one I played religiously as a kid.
That was it, man. That was it. Those were the days.
Speaking of Star Wars, oh yes. And speaking of those were the days in Star Wars era when we were kids. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith is back in theaters this weekend. So we already have our tickets. Cannot wait.
Yep. Yeah, Friday. Yeah. I'm going Friday. And they're going to have a cool popcorn bucket at the Disney JMC. So hopefully it's not sold out when I go, because that would be fun to have.
I hope at Alamo. I mean, I know they'll have Merc, but I hope they have one of the pint glasses.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But yeah.
We were supposed to get
very excited.
Alamo Draft House here in Orlando, but I think COVID canceled those plans. Yeah.
Man, like, and it's like, I hope it, will bounce back eventually, because it is I love the theater so much. It's just awesome. Well, so yeah, that's a Star Wars Celebration, and you can go back and watch some of those panels on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
Dave Filoni's panels are always great.
Yes.
Oh, and the documentary about ILM. There's season 2. I finished watching it, and I never knew some of the stories that they were telling. And great documentary. It reminded me of the old DVD documentaries from 25 years ago. Yeah.
Season 1 was fantastic. I haven't got a chance to watch season 2 yet, but I will. Yes, Light and Magic. Yeah, it's excellent. So if you're at all like us and you really want to dive into in this case, it's the visual effects that went into Star Wars and also other franchises and everything. It's a fascinating story, really well done. So that is on Disney Plus as well. Go check that out.
All right, what do we got next here?
Awesome.
Hey, podcast fam. Want to stay even more connected with the show? We've got you covered. Check us out on Instagram and Blue Sky, where we're posting exclusive content and bonus videos and fun updates that you won't get anywhere else. From sneak previews of upcoming episodes to bonus content, our social accounts are the best way to keep the conversation going. Plus, it's a great spot for you to interact with other listeners and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. When you follow us, it helps us grow and continue bringing you the content that you love. Whether it's a funny poll, a quick clip from today's episodes, or just random thoughts, you'll feel more plugged into everything we're doing. So go ahead and hit that follow button on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's one more way to be a part of the show and keep the good vibes flowing. Thanks for being a part of the family, and we can't wait to see you there.
Let's see. All right.
Here we go.
Okay. So I got to talk about this one. Okay. So Evan, you've not watched or played Last of Us?
Correct.
Okay, got it. So
both accounts.
Got it. Okay. So on my end, I never played the game, but I've been watching the show from the beginning. And as I've watched the show, like after each episode comes out, I go back and like read up on the game just to see what the differences are and like what was really faithful and what they changed and everything. So it's been an excellent show from the beginning. And, I'll give the brief, overview of what it is for those who don't know. This is a post-apocalyptic zombie show that follows the main characters, Joel and Ellie. Joel lost his daughter on the day of the outbreak. And the difference between this and kind of other zombies is the zombie stems from like a virus that creates really interesting monsters that you don't see in other zombie shows and movies and comics. It's very unique, where it's like this organism that it was the cause of everything and stemmed it and brought about the end of the world. So Joel lost his daughter on the day of the outbreak and has been just kind of surviving ever since because the outbreak happens in the early 2000s, and then this the show takes place like 20 years later. And Ellie is she's born during the apocalypse, so this is all she's ever known. But she is immune to the virus because like her mother was bitten when she was born, and it like allowed her to be immune. And so because of that, she's obviously like is this like sought after being from the resistance called the Fireflies. And so in season 1, it's about Joel trying to get Ellie to where were they headed? I'm trying to blank on. I'll look at it in a sec. But anyway, like they go across country to get to the Fireflies headquarters, so that because they're trying to develop a cure and rid the world of these monsters and get back to normal in some capacity. And so season 1 is a lot about that. And I will go ahead and because it's hard to not talk about spoilers here, especially with what happened in this episode. So at the end of season 1, they make it there, but the Fireflies tell Joel that the only way to develop the cure is Ellie cannot survive the operation. So they have the operation ready to go. And before this happened, like, Ellie is unconscious at this point because the Fireflies know that, like, Joel's not going to react with it. So they go ahead and knock them both out, and they have Ellie on the operating table and Joel's knocked out. And they tell Joel this because they know he wouldn't like let it happen otherwise. But the thing is, before this happens, Ellie tells Joel, whatever happens, like, I'm willing to sacrifice myself, because, like, she understands what makes her unique, and if she can do anything to literally save the world, she will. But she's unconscious, so she's not given the choice. But at the end of season 1, Joel, when he hears this, he goes full John Wick and not only kills all the Fireflies, he kills the doctors there too, and takes Ellie out and rescues her. And later, when she wakes up, he just tells her that, it didn't work. And like, he does not tell her anything that, that he killed them all and like what happened. And there's still, and she makes him swear that he's telling the truth. But even in that moment, in the final scene in season 1, she knows something is he's lying to her. Even though, and so season 2 then jumps 5 years later, and we learn that one of the former Fireflies, whose dad was the doctor that Joel killed, is now out for revenge. And so she tracks Joel all the way to Jackson, Wyoming, where they we visited there in season 1. That's where Joel's brother has been with his community and being the leader there. And him and Joel were obviously together before the apocalypse, and Tommy survives too and is now the leader of this community. And so Joel and Ellie go back to Jackson. They've been living there. We see this community. There's still threats, but overall they've maintained kind of a fortress and haven't had any major attacks. But Abby, this girl, follows them in, and so there's a lot of setup in episode 1. Episode 2, which aired this week, and again, I mean, I if you've already can't tell, I'm going into full spoilers here. So if you haven't caught up on this season, zone out now and come back later. But I think based on my Instagram story that I posted and how many people responded, I think this is a big sensation right now, and everyone is tuning in, and everyone was really shocked, especially who had not played the game. But in this episode, 2 major things happen. There's a big battle going on in Jackson because Abby and Joel, while Joel and some of the others are out on patrol, a series of events happens that a bunch of horde zombies make it through and get to the outskirts of the city. So a big battle ensues there. But also Abby finds a way into the community and finds Joel and is able to lure him back to their base to get away from the zombies. And that's when she executes her revenge. And, Joel dies in this episode.
Wow, really?
Is brutally killed. I think even though I had not played the game, I knew from fans of it that this was a big controversial storyline. And even then, I kind of I figured Joel would die eventually. I was not expected to happen this quick, and I thought there might be, and just to tell you how brutal it is. So she has him tied down. She shoots him in the leg first, and then she takes a golf club and starts beating his leg where she just shot with the golf club, and then just tortures him and beats him within an inch of his life. And in the final blow, which at that point Ellie comes in, and because she is she tracks Joel down and is trying to rescue him, but Abby's cohorts pin her down, and so she has to watch while Abby kills him, and she stabs him with the base of the golf club, taking the tip off, and stabs him right through the neck, and it is brutal. Yeah. So it is so now I hope that did not encourage you from watching at some point, because it is like, even with just that like plot description there's so much more in the show to take in. And also this episode specifically, the battle sequence is, I'm talking like Helm's Deep level, and the Game of Thrones battle. I mean, it was one of the most epic battle sequences I've ever seen. Not just especially for a TV budget, but this was basically a movie. I mean, they put all their money into making this happen. But it's especially very reminiscent of Helm's Deep in the sense that you have the zombies as this horde, much like the orcs, trying to get through a wall, and the humans are defending it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big, like, ultra zombie monster. There's all this other stuff. Whoa. It is such an impressive display of filmmaking that you have got to experience it. And it's so well balanced with the, obviously the emotional, overtly dramatic aspect of the episode, seeing your beloved character, even though I say beloved, but like mainly because of Pedro Pascal, but also, I think like you kind of, as a viewer, you turn on Joel at the end of the season when he does that, because it's like, oh man, like I know you didn't want to have the pain of losing another daughter, because they become like, she becomes a surrogate daughter to him. And I get it, you've lost one daughter already, but holy crap, like that was a straight up villain move. And not that like what Abby does isn't like horrible, but you kind of understand why she would do something like that after all that. And so it adds for so much moral complexity. And inside that section. And I think that's the best thing about the show, whether you like, some of those big moments or not, it demands an emotional reaction to it. And I think that's what great art does. So it's a phenomenal show. I mean, I'm not really a gamer, so I haven't played the game, but it's been cool following along and, seeing the reactions from fans, following the show from the beginning. So there's so much to take in, but yeah, this week was a banger. So it was for me, a great episode. I know there were some changes that like some fans were upset with, but I listened to interviews with the showrunner after, and I thought they were justified personally. And I just, not having be something to compare it to and just watching it as a show, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But although I say enjoy, it was not a happy episode, but he means
right. You can't enjoy that, but
yes, but excellent storytelling.
Well, then, dang, that's cool to have, to know that quality is there, and I'll get around to the show, and I like to be warned about it, so that's good.
And it also, like I was saying with Daredevil earlier, how well it sets up for season 2. This one, despite the shock of this episode, it sets up a perfect storyline going forward, because the parallels between Ellie and Abby are so apparent, because they've both been wrong. They're both like, because now that Abby has killed Joel, Ellie is now going to be bent on revenge against her.
Sure, okay.
And so it adds this really fascinating dynamic there. And also the performances of obviously Pedro Pascal, but Bella Ramsey is absolutely phenomenal in this show throughout. So even though Joel's gonna be gone, we're gonna see him in flashbacks. But even though his storyline is done, Bella Ramsey can definitely carry the show because she is fantastic. And I'm really interested in seeing. I mean, it's gonna be rough. There's gonna be brutal stuff happening, I know, but I'm really fascinated to see where Ellie's story goes from here.
I saw some of that.
Yeah.
I saw some posts, and from what people said, I'm like, wow, did they really do it? And I guess they did it. Yeah. And again, it was just that, because I texted a friend right after I watched it who had played the game and everything, and so I was like, I just said, well, now I know why the game 2 is really controversial and shocking. And he's like, he hadn't watched the episode yet, but he knew what I was referencing. He's like, whoa, they already did it. And he watched the episode the next day. And yeah, because he wasn't expecting it to be that. I mean, he obviously knew it was going to happen, but he thought it was going to be maybe a mid-season story or something like that. But they did it right in episode 2. All right.
Yeah. So Last of Us, that's another one. I think we'll do a full episode on it at some point, and I would love to do it with some people who have played the game as well, to get their perspective. But it is a phenomenal show, just amazing storytelling all around. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is that the end of our main
That's
topics?
all we got. That's all we got.
Man, that was impressive. I know when we were texting Josh about this, I was like, ooh, this could be like a 3-hour one, but I think I'm about out of breath anyway, so
Yeah,
I think we covered. But yeah.
I'm satisfied. Like Snickers.
I am too.
Satisfies. Well,
Evan, this was great. And before we go, do you have any quick recommendations you want to give either any of the stuff here tonight or just something totally different?
I was going to double down on that Industrial Light and Magic documentary.
Great. Yes.
I'll double down on that one. And that's a great little piece of history there and they touch on other films that are just not Star Wars and how they've impacted the world of cinema, basically. And the ending was very emotional, and I've never worked there and stuff, so it's like, wow, that's good.
Great choice. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating documentary. I'm definitely going to get to season 2 very soon. I will recommend, obviously Sinners, but if you're coming out of Sinners and you want a little more of that, a great comic to go to that I actually saw, a friend and I saw a lot of comparisons to, is American Vampire, which is a hugely successful, popular title it started well over a decade ago, but from Scott Snyder and Stephen King actually co-created too, and Raphael Albuquerque. It's a great horror comic. The art is phenomenal. Great storytelling. That was one of Snyder's earlier works before he went on to do Batman and everything. So there's a bunch of storylines there, but if you want to just check out like the first trade and see if you like it, I highly recommend that one.
Well, there we go. Thank you for chatting with me, and this was fun.
Oh, Evan, this was a blast as always. And again, I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for tuning in. Rate, review the show. It helps us out a ton. And if you're on YouTube and you like that video, if we get up to 50 likes on any video whatsoever, Will Rose it's spring now, so he can definitely frolic through a field of flowers. So if you don't want to miss that, please like, subscribe, share. We would really appreciate it. And remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests. Peace, y'all.
Hey guys, again, thank you so much for listening to our show and being part of the Systematic Geekology team. If you want to support our team, you can do so by going to Captivate. And I know most people don't listen on Captivate, but it's in the description wherever you're listening. You can go to our website. At the very bottom, you have the options to either subscribe and you'll get some extra content and fun stuff, like our bonus questions, all those kind of things that hopefully you all come to love as much as I love making them with our fellow geekologists on the team. We also are hoping to do some future D&D campaigns, stuff like that, and all that's available for our sponsors. But if you don't have those extra funds and you're not really into the subscription thing, you can also leave a one-time tip, just one-time thing to help out our show as we kind of stay in the game with podcasting, keep relevant with all the technology and all that stuff. And it costs a lot to run a show, and we appreciate you for your help. Again, thank you so much for listening. We value your time, and it means a lot to us that you give us your time by listening to our show and supporting us in that way. If you feel led to support financially as well, we appreciate that. Let's get back to the show.
Hello, Systematic Geekology listeners. This is Kevin here. Just want to give a brief ad for some of the other podcasts in our Anazao podcast network. First of all, off is Let Nothing Move You by Christian Ashley, in which Christian goes through the Bible one chapter at a time and gives his thoughts there. There is also the Bible After Hours, which is a more progressive take on the Bible that tries to challenge the status quo with satire and looks at theology. The host uses the pseudonym The Foul-Mouthed Preacher. And as a bonus, Joshua Knoll does the voices for this one, so definitely check that one out. And also, and we'll laugh about that later, is the newest podcast that our own Will Rose is starting, where he will interview friends about a story they had that wasn't funny at the time, but that they laugh about now. So Definitely check out these shows and subscribe to us wherever you get your pods. Thank you very much.